welcome to the Hamilton Cast Read-Alongs, sponsored by the Gilder Lehrman Institute. Hi everyone, I'm your narrator, Keisha Rembert, and I'm a teacher, a learner, a lover of history and all things books, and I'm joining you from the Windy City. Do you know where that is? Right, Chicago, and I'm happy that you are joining us wherever you are. Our read-alongs feature Hamilton cast members reading picture books and discussing the history behind them. Our goal each week is to give you, students, an educational and literary experience with members of the theater community. It's an interactive way to hear your favorite stories or to be introduced to new stories that you may not know. I encourage you to go to gilderlehrman.org to learn all about what Gilder Lehrman has to offer. If you're a Hamilton fan, and I'm sure that you are, you can register for EduHam online by going to hamilton.gilderlehrman.org. Now, let's learn about today's storyteller. I am joined today by our amazing storyteller, Antuan Raimone. He has over 20 years of professional experience in musical theater and is currently a universal swing in the 5 U.S. Hamilton companies, where he covers all 6 male ensemble characters for each company. From 2007 to 2011, he was also the vacation swing for the off-Broadway production of In the Heights. He's also been paid to dance in the window of Marc Jacobs' retail store dressed in a pig costume. As a survivor, he used his voice to help others who have not found theirs. Welcome, Antuan, and you have to tell us about this pig costume.
Hello, Keisha, and hello, students. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to be here with you. The pig costume, the Broadway production of In the Heights had closed in February of 2011, and then I was unemployed. And so I had joined a temporary agency that would kind of send you out on different odd jobs. And I got a call saying that they needed someone to go dance in the window of a Marc Jacobs retail store in New York City in a costume for some sort of seasonal promotion they were doing. It was around Easter time, but they didn't want to be so specific as to have an Easter bunny, so as to turn away people who may not celebrate Easter. So I showed up and there was a pig costume, and I stood in that window for about 4 hours and danced to whatever music they played in the store. I had no control over the music, which was kind of a bummer because it was a little hard to really rock out to your kind of alternative rock music in a Marc Jacobs store.
Well, I don't know if you ever need another Halloween costume. You got it. Well, thank you so much for joining us to read this book with us, Let the Children March, a picture book by Monica Clark Robinson and illustrated by Frank Morrison. This book is told from a child's point of view, and this moving historical picture book focuses on a monumental moment in the civil rights movement, the Children's Crusade of 1963. Students, you might be asking, what was the civil rights movement? And so I'm going to start by telling you, first of all, about civil rights. Civil rights means all people, you, the person sitting next to you, the person who lives next door to you, the person who might even live in the town over from you, are treated fairly and accepted no matter what. It doesn't matter if that person is a different color, a different religion, identifies as a different gender. They're all treated no different than you. And so the civil rights movement was a time 60 to 70 years ago when Black people organized, challenged, and spoke out against being treated unfairly. You probably heard of some of the people involved in the civil rights movement, people like Dr. King and Rosa Parks, and there are other people that you probably haven't heard about, like Fannie Lou Hamer and Bayard Rustin. These people helped to bring about civil rights for Black people in the United States. There were also some young people who helped, and you'll learn more about their efforts today in this picture book. For almost a week, in early May of 1963, thousands of Black school-age children, probably your age, and a bit older teenagers marched through the streets of Birmingham, Alabama to end segregation. Segregation is the separation of the races. And they marched to inspire change and hope for the future. This book is published by Houghton Mifflin, Harcourt Books for young readers, and I am ready to hear this book. How about y'all? Okay, Antoine, are you ready? It sounds like they are.
I am very ready, absolutely.
All right.
As Keisha said, the name of today's book is Let the Children March. It is written by Monica Clark Robinson and illustrated by Frank Morrison. 1963, Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. One warm spring night, my family went to church. We weren't there to have regular services. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love. Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job, sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders. But this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama.
Antoine, I'm sure some of our students are wondering why people marched and what did it mean to march? And I think those are really great questions that I want to just jump in and answer really quickly. A march was an organized protest, a way for Black people to show they would not accept being treated poorly or unfairly, a way to demand their rights as American citizens be fulfilled. It wasn't unusual at the time for children to march. Many children joined their parents and other adults in all forms of peaceful protests, like marches and sit-ins. And children like Ruby Bridges and Claudette Colvin had done brave things in the face of evil and hate. But this was the first time young children like you would be leading the way in large numbers, thousands of children without adults. And for some of the older children, they marched without even telling their parents that they were going to participate. The young people knew the danger that they would face and they were courageous and ready. Students, do you think you would have been courageous enough to do something like that without the protection of adults?
I don't think I would have been.
I was going to ask you.
I would have been very scared.
I don't think I would have either, Antoine. So it was a very brave moment, a very brave thing for these children to volunteer for. Let's find out what else they do.
All right. Dr. King didn't like children being put in harm's way. He was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May 2nd, A sunny Thursday. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends. We all met at the church, dressed in our best, feet ready, in a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart. We began to walk. Hand in hand we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Would I be hurt? Would we be heard? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd. Run from danger. Run from fear. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends. On and on we marched. We marched. We marched. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Hate dogged my heels all that day, its yellow canine teeth sharp. But courage walked by my side and kept me going. Dispense, or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse, or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse, or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on marching. We wouldn't stop until things started to change. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, rough hands pushed me forward, and I fell to my knees in the police wagon. I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. Don't worry about your children, he said. They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all mankind.
Antuan, that was probably one of the hardest pages for me to hear. And I'm sure some of our listeners understand that. Why would innocent children be treated like criminals for walking peacefully down streets and having signs wanting better schools and to be treated fairly? And really the only way to make sense of it is that it was a time in history where some people didn't believe Black people deserve to have equal rights.
It's something that I have not experienced or seen very much in my lifetime. And so to think that children who are peacefully walking and just wanting and hoping for change in their everyday lives could be looked at as a threat, could be looked at as dangerous, was very sad and very shocking to see. That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, and freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang. wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sting us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love when there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us. But for 7 days, we walked only in love. The jails swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story. But we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown.
I just wanted to illustrate a couple of things for students. The fact that Dr. King visited the students in jail would have been a really big thing for them, because Dr. King himself had just recently gotten out of jail and wrote a letter that was pretty famous called The Letter from a Birmingham Jail for people to read. And it was a letter about injustice. And he famously said in that letter, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So the students really would have been inspired by his visit. And to think that the president watched them and that the president went on to express support for laws that would eventually give Black people legal rights while they were marching is a feat in and of itself. And that students were impactful to that change is really incredible. So I look at that image and see them watching those children on the screen and think about the fact that those children reached the president and changed his heart and mind. So I wonder what else they could inspire, Antuan.
We will find out. 2 days and nights I stayed in the jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore, and my best dress was ripped. But my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. "I'm so proud of you, baby girl," Mama said. "Your march was what made them see. With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. One month later, I was playing on a playground I'd never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way, singing the songs of freedom. 1,000 strong we came.
Thank you so much, Antuan, for your awesome reading and the
You're very
singing.
welcome.
It was truly incredible to think that those young people expressed their bravery and made a difference. What are your thoughts about their actions overall?
I am continually inspired and surprised to see how strong young people are. And what is so wonderful to me when I see that is it's a reminder of a power that we all possess. And there's something about the intelligence and the compassion of a young person to know, to see beyond the color of someone's skin. You know, I've seen so many videos during the pandemic of, you know, two little boys or two little friends that haven't seen each other in months, and then they get to see each other for the first time, and the way they run to each other, the joy and the happiness and the appreciation for their friend, to get to see their friend, is so strong, and it is so bright, and it's so beautiful. And that is something that I wish I could remind myself of more each day as an adult, just to remember there is a part of me, there's still that little boy in me that is so hopeful and so brave, and just knows this is the right thing to do, this is the good thing to do. So it's wonderful to continue to see that kind of spirit in young people live and thrive every day, even as we are going through this time in our world, in our history, that is so difficult for so many of us. So it's very refreshing, and it there is so much hope. You know, there's a Whitney Houston song that sings, "I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside." There's so much beauty. There's so much beauty. And so thank you to all of the students, because I'm sure there's so much strength that you have that I don't even know about. And I'm thankful for you for trusting it and for honoring it and sharing it with the people around you.
Wow, that is powerful. Yeah, young people have the power to create change, however young they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so beautifully said in what you just sang. Some students have some questions for you. They wanted to know, what does it mean to be full swing in a performance?
Ah, yes. So a full swing, a universal swing, my particular position. So you have the ensemble, also known as the chorus. And for Hamilton specifically, there are 6 men that sing and dance in the show. And I have to know everything those men do. And each of them does something different. They have different choreography. They have a different part that they sing in the show. They have different set pieces and props that they have to move. So I have to know all of that stuff. So it would be the same, you know, if you have a different teacher for English, or a different teacher for PE, a different teacher for history. It's kind of like me being a substitute in that way. I have to know all of those different forms of information for each person. And I do that for the five US companies of Hamilton.
Thanks so much, Antuan. It was awesome spending time with you.
Thank you so much, Keisha. It's been a pleasure. And thank you to Gilder Lehrman for putting all this together. Thank you for all of you students and adults that joined us today. I am incredibly, incredibly thankful and appreciative.
Bye, everyone.